Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, or as that person who put really weird music up on the streaming services recently that now I have to put art and stuff up because I just got my official artist account over on Apple. I got my notice that I'm about to get my official artist account over on Spotify. And it's freaking me out in some of the good ways, I think. But yeah, it has been a crazy week. There's a lot of things to talk about. But before we get started, hello to Laura. Because yay, not alone.
Hurrah!
Hurrah. I have to say that I have been really enjoying this new format for the podcast. I hope everybody else is. I have noticed a spike in listenership on both the RSS feed for the audio listeners, and last week's episode went crazy on YouTube. So, hi, if there are new people here. Hello. I feel like there may be a lot of new people. I don't know. I do know as far as the podcast goes, at least the reporting I'm getting, a lot of you all are in France. So, bonjour. Because yeah, wow. I think it's up to 56% of the audience is now in France, I think, for the audio of this, which I don't understand. I'm okay. We shall go with it. Today, we are going to be talking about style over substance. We're going to be talking about spectacle and how it is just ruining everything. Or in some cases, making it better, because that's the point of the whole thing. But first, I've introduced myself. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Laura Nettles. I am a writer for visual effects for TVs and movies. I have been dabbling in writing. My first short story was published this month. And yeah, I enjoy horror, I enjoy sci-fi, I enjoy fantasy, I enjoy lots of stuff.
I do too. And then I enjoy a lot of stuff that just comes in at the end and goes, you thought we were going to be good. Not that I'm bitter. I'm bitter. I'm just come out with it. So a quick hellos to the chat. Hello, Eva. How are you? Long time no see. Hello, Spence. How are you doing? I see Maggie is here. I see Nikki is here. Hello, Nikki. Yeah, it's been going crazy. And yeah, I don't take credit for it at all. I think that just having somebody to talk to has made it better. And the quality of the people that I've been talking to has just been a lot better than me. So all that gets added together and makes for amazingness. First time you caught the new channel. Yay! Yeah, I do streams on this channel on Mondays and Fridays. Friday, we do Fan Fiction Friday. Last Friday, I got signed up for my AO3 account, so I've entered the digital age of fan fiction.
Welcome.
And yeah, it feels weird to be here. I may have lost time because I found I had access to more stories that I had not read. Not a bad thing, but a thing.
Yeah.
Hello, Bonnie, how are you doing today? Hello, Tom. Thank you for reminding people to like and subscribe. It really does help out, especially as the channel is growing. And yeah, I think they're going to regret it, but YouTube did, when I logged into the creator dashboard earlier today, when I was scheduling everything, put up a thing. Would you like to take a survey and tell us how you feel about being a creator on our platform? Yes. Let me tell you. Oh, good. And there's an other box that I can type things in.
Oh, the stream of conscience flow.
Oh yeah. I may have. If I seem much more lighter, much more ebullient today, I got to yell at YouTube in a way that they may actually hear, because if they're doing a survey, somebody's going to at least crunch some of that data.
Mm-hmm.
So I at least got to vent to a robot that will eventually report back to the humans. And that makes me feel just a little bit better.
Assuming the robots still have a human overlord.
You know, the way that they've been operating lately, I would not be surprised to find out that they don't. I'm just saying, I'm still a little bitter over them ripping off and putting up the duplicate of the one video that I have on this channel, the one music video that I have on this channel, because, dude, that's not nice. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of views, but like nothing on this channel has a lot of views except for like the podcast episodes. So like you take a couple of views away, that's a huge percentage. Like, rah. But yeah, it's been a wild week. So the reason for this episode is I just finished watching Star Trek Discovery because I put it off knowing that it would, in the end, live up to all of my expectations of it and let me down. And I'm not saying that it completely did. Like, they were really smart in the denouement on there that like tugged at the heartstrings and actually almost like my eyes moistened a bit. Not like full tears, but like they had the triumphal music playing, like the story at the very, very end. But getting there was painful and problematic and a thing that I really would not like to go through again. And I thought to myself, you know, I could either do what I would normally do, and that's a 30 to 50 to an entire podcast, all arguing how they could have done things better, because I may have done all of those things in the past. Or we could just talk about the fundamental flaw in this season and how it is becoming problematic. Because I know a lot of the listeners and a lot of the viewers are writers, because like attracts like, and I talk a lot about my writing career. And that's this horrible need for spectacle, because I can see the story they wanted to tell. And don't worry, I'm not going to like spoil much of anything. And honestly, if you're interested in this and you haven't already been spoiled because of the reaction the moment the episode aired, and you find out, wait, that's what the whole season's been about, you're a better person than I am at avoiding spoilers. I'm just going to say that because I knew because it came out that morning, and by about 11 a.m., I knew how the episode ended because I loaded social media and that's all my page was. I opened up YouTube and like about a quarter of all the videos that it recommended were really that, and they like didn't even cover it up. It was like right there in the thumbnail and the description and the title of the video. Like, oh yeah, you're amazing if you have not been spoiled. But I see the story that they wanted to go for, and this happens way too often, because I see the story that they wanted to tell, and it's a good story. It's a story about hope and loss and really speaking to everything that's been going on right now, how to deal with tragedy and how to overcome adversity. Like, I see all the themes that they were going for. But, and this is not a spoiler because it's just a scene that randomly happens, you don't need to show me that basically the entire interior of the ship is just open void space with nothing going on in it, but turbo lifts flying around in random directions on gravitational lifts, just kind of flying around randomly, like a weird episode of, actually 4 episodes of Star Wars, the Clone Wars that I saw, where they did various train heists or things like that for no reason. Because now all I know is if we have another Captain Picard day and the turbolifts fail, everyone's dead. There's no mechanical parts anymore. Everything just floats around on magic space light through a giant chasm and void, where one of the fights literally ends by them throwing somebody out into the giant void in the center of the ship and them splatting when they hit the ground because there's nothing to stop them from plummeting to their death. Because apparently,
why would the ship be that big then if they have that much? What?
spectacle, pure spectacle. It
It
was a
needs so
beautiful
much more energy to move a ship that size.
it was a beautiful shot. Like if this was like okay, so if you remember in I think it was Attack of the Clones where they're doing the chase through Coruscant and there they are like whipping through the buildings and it's really pretty. No matter what you thought about like it's really pretty, like the ships and like, ooh, is he gonna fall? La la la. It's basically that scene, except in the interior of the turbolift network inside of the ship, which apparently has a pocket dimension on the inside of it. Why?
It's interesting because not only do they have spectacle for random throwaway shots just to make it beautiful, but there's also spectacle that they build into the climax of the story, or even just how they shoot the story in general. Like, I worked on the new Monster Hunter movie, and that was a lot of... So when they filmed the shots, they would make sure the sun was behind whatever they were shooting, so everything was beautifully backlit and everything is a little bit more mysterious. And so nothing has continuity because they would rotate the sets throughout the day, like in the desert. And all of our shots, we had to figure out, where's the monster moving? How do we put the sun there? It's the exact opposite of the exact shot right before this. Who cares? The director wants it backlit. Go for it. So, like, even the microscopic micromanagement detail, there's also spectacle sometimes of just trying to make it look cool. So,
And
there's spectacle on every level.
And it is so problematic because, like, as I'm watching this, I am one to watch the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off, if you actually watch it anywhere but the United States, I believe. And I could just hear Paul Hollywood just chanting, "This is just style over substance. This is just style over substance." Like, we need something more than style over. I could just hear him chanting through the entire like last episode of the show. And yes. apparently you're literally going through space and time. Because yes, all turbolifts are TARDISes from now on, I guess. I don't know. I really don't. And this is just... See, back when I originally watched the Watchmen movie, the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie, and I didn't know as much about Zack Snyder then as I do now, my original complaint about it was how they misunderstood that the movie, there were no heroes in the story, and the obsession with spectacle and weird slow motion shots that frame everything as heroic made the message of the movie change. And I still think that that's true to a certain degree, but then realizing that he actually thought that Rorschach was the good guy, even though he was the racist, anti-Semitic monster who just wanted a fascist state that would allow him to beat people up for being bad. Okay, Zach, you do you. But that's the moment that it like crystallized in my brain. Like, because I didn't think there was anything to him but aesthetic. And I still feel that way. There are certain directors that when you go to a Zack Snyder movie or you go to a Michael Bay movie, you're not there for the movie, you're there for the aesthetic. You know what you're going to get, and it's not a story. It's just a certain look that is going to last for a certain amount of time. It is a protracted music video with a lot more dialogue than you would expect.
This director that I've worked on a couple of his projects now, the guy who did Monster Hunter is the guy who did the Resident Evil movies. And so you definitely pick up that style of, okay, we need to have the fastest edit cuts ever that will give you a seizure with flashing lights. And so we would animate and light this monster with a flashlight going like this in the dark. And it's just monster here and here, 2 frames, cut. Here and here, cut. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this director, like nobody's going to be able to see what's going on. It's worse than a Jason Bourne movie, like shaky cam and just close up and everything, and nobody knows what on earth is going on. Even if you're making the movie, you don't know what's going on. Like, oh my gosh, just the editing quick cuts kill me.
And I have seen this bleeding even into fiction, even into prose fiction, where that aesthetic of the very quick scene cut, the very like sparse description, very sparse dialogue, like there's a place for staccato writing. Like, I'm not going to say that there isn't. If you want to speed the pace of your story up, short, punchy sentences with as few syllables in each word as you can possibly do, it does make you feel like you're moving faster. You want to slow it down. You longer sentences, longer words, it slows the pace down. Okay. I have read several, and this always boggles my mind when they're traditionally published books, that are using this simply for effect, not in service of the story. The scene that you're reading is actually quite dull. And okay, style over substance actually works in movies and in shows. And I always get pilloried when I start talking about this, but Death Note is aesthetic brought to the highest level.
I love Death Note.
I do too. But let's be honest, Light writing names into the Death Note is the most boring possible thing that you could ever
eating potato chips, and it's the cat and mouse, and it's all these little things. And the
because
music.
of the style, right? This is one of those places where style actually makes substance, because you wouldn't feel the tension between Light and, well, anyone else in the story if it wasn't for these wonderful protracted monologues where, and then I have a potato chip. like the sheer over the topness of it is the message, right? It tells you the story. It's not just there for the sake of being there.
But also,
and I've seen
it's
in
not
the book,
all like extremely over the top, quick. It has the lulls where you have the internal monologues where he's trying to figure out somebody's name and they're walking down a sidewalk and he's freaking out in his head. And so it's a very slow pacing, but his mind is going a mile a minute. But the pacing, like on screen, of them just walking and having a conversation is very slow. And it's the contrast of quick, slow, and just that dance of keeping people interested, ramping it up, but then pulling it back, let you digest it, let you figure out what's going on. And it's that dance of pacing is amazing.
But this author, and I will say, because it was a traditionally published book, their editor must have thought that was an aesthetic that you could apply to exposition dumps. And because we're using this quick cut, quick word, like like trying to make it like scream like Light eating potato chips crazy, you'll get through it. It'll be fine. It'll be wonderful. And no, because it didn't fit in the story. It didn't serve the story. When you watch Death Note has that character to it. That's why I say it is the aesthetic that carries the story on. Because even before he got the Death Note, Light is kind of that overly obsessive teen kid. And you see that just be augmented even more now that he literally has the power of life and death in his hands.
Yeah.
To the point where he has literal gods of death going, are you sure you want to do this, dude? He's gonna like completely mess this up, isn't he? Like when the gods of death are whispering that you might mess up the world, you've gone too far. But it works with the aesthetic. It works with the story. It's not just a style that's thrown on top of it to excuse bad writing. Style can't fix bad story. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
Which is why the later seasons of Death Note.
Yeah. That's why I only own the first season on disc.
Because it works so well until it doesn't, because the story's not there. The story doesn't justify what happens later. And I know I'm going to get like all the messages that I always get every time I bring up Death Note. Yes, I know about the whole thing with the mangas and the different. I know.
Mhm.
Not the
Mhm.
point. Not the point right now. This is not time for Death Note apologia. But it shows how even in the same series, it can't sustain a bad story. The cat and mouse is what made that story amazing. It
Yes.
knew what it was and it stuck to it. I see people in chat bringing up, Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service. That
Mhm.
there's a look and feel to Spirited Away that the spectacle there, you're experiencing it just like she is. You're
Mhm.
in the same awe and wonder at everything that you're seeing, all the bizarre things that you're seeing as she is, because you've followed this uninitiated character into this completely unknown world. And the stranger it is, the better it actually serves the story, because
Mhm.
they don't think like us, they don't act like us. Like, it's a big part of her understanding how to operate and live in the world is, oh, I have to throw away my human preconceptions at how the world works.
Like the Miyazaki films have such a unique aesthetic that people can instantly recognize it.
Yep.
But they don't just like it for the aesthetic beauty of the movies, they like it for the stories as well, because the stories support the beauty of it. You actually connect with it and feel with it, with either Totoro or Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle. Take your pick.
Yeah.
But just, it's not just style. There's also substance to the stories.
And one of the things that really gets me about this is I hear people obsessing over, just to go back to that book I was talking about that I don't want to name because I don't want to be that person, but I see a lot of writers obsessing, are my chapters too long? Are they too short? Are my scenes too long or too short? One of my favorite books of all time is Amistad Maupin's Tales of the City. The opening chapter, I don't think any of the scenes are longer than 100 words, because you're establishing the frenetic pace of this girl entering the city for the first time. And so you're meeting all the new places and all the new people, and it's dizzying. It's this whirlwind of description that just brings you right into her mind, right into her state of being, because every time you meet a character, oh no, she's got to go to work now, and so you're meeting somebody else, and so something else is going on. Oh, but now she's got to go find a place to live, and it is beautifully disorienting, because you're there with her. And when it finally, you meet Miss Madrigal and the story slows down. And the story goes on for a little bit before the pace quickens back up. Each of those scenes, one scene is literally, I remember counting it, it's 12 words. It didn't need to be more than that. You get this impression of where she is, who she is. The entire story is encapsulated in those few words. And it's so powerful. This is where style is important for us, to learn to make the story the size it needs to be, the story it wants to be, and not worry about whether we're living up to an arbitrary line on things. And that's where style over substance really comes in. And this is the worst segue in the world, because this is not style over substance coming in, but Glory and Tom have shown up.
What are you saying about us?
I couldn't figure out how to. I'm like, I don't know how to segue out of this. I'm just gonna acknowledge the awkwardness of bringing people in.
Oh, the awkward siblings.
Oh, the awkward siblings.
Oh, look, it's the awkward siblings. Here they are. Surprise, surprise.
I mean, Gloria and I were actually just talking yesterday about one of the real skills Gloria recently kind of really figured out this past year, especially through talking on the show, was about using actually, why don't you explain it?
I'm not sure where you're going though.
About the the setting and remember we were talking about not genre, the not premise. What were
It's
we talking
form.
about yesterday? Huh?
Story form. It turns out I thought it was story frame,
Story
but it
form,
turns out
yeah.
story frame is something else. That's why I sent you
But
the links
story form.
yesterday.
I slept, or I didn't. I don't know.
Okay, it's fine.
But
Yeah.
you know, and the effects of the story form on the story you can tell.
It's been a challenge for me for like over a decade, where it's like I have a story premise or I have a story idea, and then I'm not entirely sure of how I was saying how to frame it, but it turns out that story frame they can call something else anyway. But so what I guess Wikipedia at least calls story form. Sorry, I'm self-educated. But the form to use, like so, epistolary stories versus. You know, where you use, say, for instance, the character maybe is unraveling things backwards, and some of the issues with the unreliable narrative, and maybe you're using as the form little bits of note paper. And like a scrapbook or something that like there's a lot of different ways. Like again, I would say frame it, but there are different ways to tell a whole different variety of stories that is regardless of genre. So genre has certain conventions, but then it's like, but I need to like give a frame, but again, it turns out it's a form of how to easily and quickly communicate to the reader what to expect beyond genre. So that was a challenge. It is still, I guess, technically a challenge, but recently I felt like I leveled up as a writer of, oh, now I know. So for instance, I for years have had this story of Baba Yaga.
Mhm.
And I love, like, look, when I grew up as a kid, my mother told me what I thought were feminist versions of Baba Yaga. I was horrified when I grew up and started finding other stories of Baba Yaga going, ooh, she's a bad guy in all these, or a bad woman. Versus my mother's stories of Baba Yaga was like, she is, like, as long as you're a respectful person in the woods, Baba Yaga will always help you. Baba Yaga does not turn away people who are in need of help. But again, she does not like lazy people who lie. What a surprise. Neither does my mother. So that did not surprise me. And so I have this story of Baba Yaga, who is essentially sort of like the mentor character who helps the main character set out on this quest. You know, like gets the main character loaded up with equipment that they're going to need. And I had no idea how to tell this because it didn't quite work as just literally just telling this. And recently, last week, I was like, oh, but if I instead put it in the form of the beginning of a video game or the beginning of a game, like here you are the main character and here's what happens to you, that would absolutely make sense to the reader. And they could immediately jump in without me needing to do hardly any exposition at all. And that's what I mean about having that makes such a huge difference from the reader's perspective, because I want the reader to be able to jump in immediately and start exploring this world with me.
It's one of the reasons why I often say that Dracula is my favorite horror novel, and it's because it's written as an epistolatory novel.
Yes.
The Dracula that I read is not the Dracula any of you read, because the vast majority of the story is how you piece together the elements. Because it's newspaper clippings, it's journal entries, it's letters back and forth between the characters. And how you knit that story together is going to be different from how I knitted that story together. And so there's a much more visceral experience for someone like me who loves putting things together. It's why Call of Cthulhu, again, one of my favorite Lovecraft stories. Why? It's essentially the same thing. Oh,
It's
my
interactive.
uncle died. I got a bunch of stuff from him. Let's see what's in the box. Journal entry, newspaper article.
Yeah, and you have to, and like, I love that about it. Like, it's essentially a mystery because you are piecing things together.
And you have to put it together.
It's very fun for the reader.
It makes the story so powerful. And Maggie, I don't know if you're going after Fast and Furious or pro or con on it based on what you said in the chat. But I will say the thing about Fast and Furious that a lot of people miss is that's an idea as hero story. this is something that has been lost in a lot of modern fiction where we have almost exclusively character as hero stories, which is why I can't wait to see how the Foundation series is turned into a TV series, because it's an idea as hero, not a character as hero, and it's going to have to make that leap onto television between the two. Fast and Furious is about one thing: family. It's about chosen family. It's about finding your chosen family, about being with your chosen family. And everything in those movies is built around making you feel that. That's why they're so popular. That's why it is such a successful franchise. People who are used to looking at character stories are looking at the characters in there going, well, this doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense, or this character's dead and then suddenly back from the dead. And this character maybe died, and wait, that movie actually happened in a different order than we originally thought that the movies happened in.
And then just the very original, what was it, Vin Diesel character is an awful person. If you actually listen to what and the reasons behind that character's actions, this is a bad person you should not want to be around. You should be very afraid.
But they realized somewhere around the fourth one, somewhere between the fourth and the fifth one, that what they actually had, that what was making people show up was this story, this idea that family and chosen family is the most important thing. And every beat is about that. Every beat is that idea being put to the test, being pushed to the limit through crazy special effects and chase scenes and what have you. Hey, let's throw some cars out of an airplane because why not? We haven't done that. Let's have cars.
No, let's go drive down the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still to me like the best one of you did what?
But that entire spectacle is actually included to show the trust that the family has with each other. On an emotional level, when you talk to people who are big fans of those series, they get what that's about. That's a trust exercise. Well, you say we can do this. You wouldn't lie to me because we're family. It is a thing that we can do. And then you see them pull it off. That's the hero of the story. It's not any of the characters. It's this singular idea that if the family stays together, we will always have each other's back and we will always succeed in the end. And that's a message that is not as prevalent in our society anymore. And it's a message more and more people need to hear. And that's what makes those movies popular, even though they are nothing but spectacle. But the theme carries people through.
Yes. I actually have, on the subject of style over substance, we watched a couple nights ago an old movie from the 80s called Roxanne, which was Steve Martin's sort of modern retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac. And I'm watching this, and I mean, it's got a great cast of actors in it. I mean, it is a really good cast. But it's like, what's wrong with this movie? As I'm watching this, I'm just running through everything. And what I eventually realize is, one, this story would be perfectly acceptable if all these characters were in high school, because then all their motivations would be correct for their behavior. But they're adults. We don't expect adults to be overly emotionally driven, as all these characters are. And for arguments to start without a real basis. They just happen in this story. And it's because Steve Martin essentially is sticking to, they set out to write this story, they set out to write a modern version of Cyrano, and they're going to stick with it, even if this is not actually within their wheelhouse. And so you get a lot of the overture ideas of Cyrano, but you don't get the same kind of closure. It ends up feeling very forced because Steve Martin wrote it from a very incompetent place. He did not understand, and I kid you not, the best I could come up with is that he abstained from all relationships in all forms for somewhere between a month and 6 months. And that is why
This is Tom's headcanon.
yeah, and this is why every character sounds like they are frustrated in the bedroom, and there is constant slapstick about firefighters losing control of hoses.
There's a lot of gags about that.
And this
And it's
is
like,
what,
go on.
this is one of the reasons why cast is, especially for film and television, is so much more important than the words that are on the page. Because again, going back to the Fast and Furious thing, because I did not know that was going to be a topic I was addressing here. Thank you, chat. But the reason those movies work, again, is you are there to see a bunch of friends doing ridiculous things and having fun doing it. For the most part, with a few very notable exceptions of people that are no longer filmed on screen together, they are a bunch of friends who are doing silly things and having a blast doing it. You're getting what you signed up for in every moment of the movie. When you are watching, not everyone is Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is a versatile actor who has shown that he can do a tearjerker, like break your heart drama movie. He can also do Big, and I love Big. And he could do Bachelor Party. I'm sorry, I want no one to remember he did a movie where the main joke is about when is this woman going to have sex with a mule, because he's gotten a lot of gravitas over the years, but he got his start playing a character who did drag so that he could get a job, and he did a movie all about when is that woman going to have sex with a mule. I see you, Tom. I'm not letting the world forget. But there's range there, right? Not every actor can do that. And this is where writers and directors mess stories up. And it's often not their fault. Like the new
You noticed in Roxanne, Daryl Hannah can play the ingenue whether she's 20 years old or 50 years old. Somehow she could still play the ingenue, but that's her acting range. Do not put her into a more serious, dramatic, emotional role. It's not her.
And that's the character that she plays in Sense8 wonderfully as the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls it off so beautifully because you don't pull them out. This is why the new Scooby-Doo has such mixed reviews, right? Because I'm a Scooby-Doo fan. It's the voice actors. They're all fine, competent actors. Is that really what Shaggy sounds like? Like, just because this is the problem, right? These characters have been around so long and have had so many people play them, but there's a certain way that we're used to Shaggy sounding, no matter who's doing the voice.
I know, versus what's his name? Matthew Lillard can still at any convention pull off Shaggy on a moment's notice with any kid, and they have plenty of videos of it. It is still adorable.
And I don't understand, because he was doing the cartoons still, why they didn't just continue him on in the role, because they wanted a named actor that would draw people in, even though it wasn't what was best for the story. Like the story itself is a perfectly good Scooby-Doo story. The voice cast felt off because most of the actors were doing themselves and not the character, because that's where we're at here. This is this obsession with celebrity culture that has just corrupted so many productions where, oh, we need somebody with a name for this. No, we
Or
don't.
it's someone who's related to the director, and so they automatically get dibs on that acting job, even though they are just straight face, play the exact same character every movie.
I say versus Scooby-Doo, you show up for Scooby-Doo, and these characters that have been the same kind of characters throughout, that's what they're looking for. People are not showing up for so-and-so can play this, is now voicing this character. I mean, back when when he was famous, Michael Rosenbaum was voice acted a lot of cartoons and a lot of action and kids cartoons. but he was actually a good voice actor, and that's why he got hired. It wasn't for the name, and most of the time they didn't mention his name because they were afraid people would then be thinking about the actor instead of the character they were voicing.
And voice
Same with Mark Hamill.
voice acting is really hard. I mean, when you look at, there's a wonderful, it's up on Disney Plus, and I think it's still up on the official Star Wars YouTube channel, where they talked to Freddie Prinze Jr. and a lot of the actors that were brought in when they started Star Wars Rebels, and they made them go through boot camp before they ever hit record on a microphone, because they're like, look, we have to break you. You're a video actor. You're used to people seeing your face. No one is going to see your face. You're going to sound like a dead robot over in the corner unless you learn how to act for a voice. And they made them all do it and go through these exercises. And if you listen to the performance, like Freddie Prinze Jr.'s performance in as Kanan Jarrus, and compare that to any movie you've seen him in, you can tell it's a completely different acting style for him, because you can see his face in those other movies. Well, you're going to see whatever they animate over you, right? And that's a skill that isn't just acquired spontaneously. That's not something that you just have. And it's kind of like where I get really upset every time they're like, oh, we're going to turn this musical into a movie and we're going to hire big name actors to be in it.
And then auto-tune everything, and it just sucks you out of the movie.
Oh. Yes, Maggie is bringing that up. Mamma Mia. And I love all the actors in it. I really enjoy ABBA songs. Oh my God, he can't sing to save his life. Why did they just at least hire just someone else to be his singing voice?
I will say right now, I am like, I am there in a fist fight for whoever wants to like challenge me for being the president of the Colin Firth fan club, because I have a problem. I have an issue. The husband is aware of this. I have a problem when it comes to Colin Firth movies.
He's my Mr. Darcy.
Whoever thought he should be allowed to sing in this movie needs to be beaten within an inch of their life, not to death, because they need to live long enough to recognize the mistake they made.
I kind of feel that way about is Pierce Brosnan, right?
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan too.
I love watching Pierce Brosnan. I love watching him act.
Oh, I loved him when he did Treehouse of Horror for The Simpsons. Was the voice of the house. Oh yeah, he was great. But again, this is not his wheelhouse.
Why?
Why?
Oh, he just
because they're going for that style. They know the style they want. They're not versus the end, going for the end product. Style is where you plan ahead what you're looking for, versus substance is working with and creating from what you have.
Right.
Working within an aesthetic is a very hard thing to do as a writer. It's something that you need to learn because, one, every genre has a distinct aesthetic. It doesn't mean that there are things that you can't do. There are some wonderful horror movies, for example, that happen in broad daylight. It's really hard to do a scary story in broad daylight because you can see everything and you don't have that natural, like, what's lurking in the shadows thing. But you can do it. But yeah, if you're going to write a horror story, it's probably going to happen in a dark place or at night or someplace confined and claustrophobic, because that just adds to the mood. Having said that, when you're doing a superhero movie, sky beams are not how every villain tries to destroy the universe. This is not a thing. What needs to happen? There are so many ways. Like, I've read comics since I was a wee little child. Let me tell you some ways supervillains have tried to destroy the universe that did not involve a sky beam.
Breaking up the Earth.
But for goodness sakes, like, it was an easy special effect that they could just write into a script. For some reason, I guess they just all thought that it was brilliant. I don't understand why every movie...
Oh, no. Anytime you're like, but why did they do this? Has made no sense. I have an answer for that. And there's along Heinlein's rules too, but I want to just point out anytime you're like, but why? This makes no sense. This is not good. The answer is always cocaine.
Yeah,
Cocaine.
probably.
Why did we have a 28-minute chase scene? Cocaine. Why did we put a sky beam up and think this is what villains do? Cocaine. Like, I'm just
Why
saying.
did you do it again in the sequel?
Cocaine. Like, so Heinlein's rule was anytime you're like, why did they do that? The answer is always money. Either not enough, too much, whatever. The answer is always money. So my reply to that is anytime it's not about money, it's just a bad idea. The answer is cocaine. Cocaine.
I have issues with a lot of the big spectacle finales of superhero movies nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how hard it would be to do effects for two people in black suits in a black cave that are both Black Panthers, like, and then like anti-grav, so you can't feel the impact of the punches because they're just kind of like, woo.
Oh, I believe that's now called pulling a Michael Bay because none of the Transformers have weight. Like they literally jump on things that do not move.
I
think 20 tons might move, a train car.
You would be mistaken, sir.
Like,
I have often gotten into fights
the
with
ending of
people.
Black Panther was amazing, but just the spectacle before that
Yeah,
was just, why are you
it's,
doing
it's not thought through.
in the dark? Like,
Laura is my special effects expert. That anytime I'm like, hey, what about this, Laura? Can you like just expert in for me for a moment?
also Wonder Woman, not the new one, the first one.
Okay.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, okay, the effects are pretty bad, but it's pretty fun. And then you're watching it, and Lupin turns into Ares, and they have this battle fight of him with the mask, and it's like,
Why?
I feel nothing.
Yep.
You look ridiculous, and everybody turns into the big bad at the end of these movies. How much more amazing would it have been if they hadn't gone for spectacle and gone for emotional impact of these humans are doing this themselves? It has nothing to do with the Greek god. Like, it would have been so much more impactful, and she would have had to learn about the human race so much deeper and come to terms with that. If it was just humans doing this to humans, not a Greek god pulling the strings.
If you're doing spectacle, it means you don't have the story to carry the audience through. I mean,
And Zack Snyder.
It's right up there with any movie that has boobies in the first 10 minutes, not going to be a well-written movie. Especially if there's no more boobies after that, then those were teaser boobies to try to get the audience to stay seated rather than a walkout when they still could get their money. Spectacle is the same way. Of like, well, I got spectacle, so I guess I got my money's worth, even though, no, you didn't. You did not get your money's worth of story.
Except for Much Ado About Nothing. The Kenneth Branagh one.
Okay.
Yeah,
What wonderful things do you have? Okay, those were like hidden happy boobies. And then we do get to see some boobies again later. Those were Shakespearean boobies. I feel like that's like a different level. I'm just saying, I love that movie. And Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves as brothers. Yes, can I please get in the middle of that?
Yes.
Glory has always had this opinion. It has not changed since she first saw it.
I had an adolescent awakening, okay?
You did.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
Like, look, I started reading Shakespeare after that movie. It made me try to get classical on people.
I didn't care about Keanu Reeves at all until Much Ado About Nothing. And then it was just like, tell me more.
When Beatrice says to the prince, like, only if I may have another husband to wear on work days. Like, yes, I would like to wear Denzel Washington on the weekends. Yes! Yes! Okay, anyway, that breaks over. I hope you've all enjoyed coming with me in my adolescent awakening.
Versus to truly show the effect of spectacle and how there's no story. We literally watched this in action right after the movie came out, and we did this to several people, and it happened every time, and we actually started to enjoy it in a very sick way, which is asking people, all right, what did you like about Suicide Squad? Because they'd always start like, it was a great movie. I want to see that again. It's like, that's wonderful. What did you like?
Tell me what you specifically liked.
Margot Robbie.
Watch their
Soundtrack
face.
is usually the answer.
Margot Robbie.
From
If I could
10
afford the
minutes.
surgery to become Margot Robbie in that movie, I would pay it right now. That's what I liked about that movie. I
You'd
wanted
be
to
so
her
cute.
until-
I loved all the outfits she wore. She looked adorable.
Aspirational.
I mean, that's how I want my psychiatrist to dress. I'm just saying. I would have had so much better experiences with my psychiatrist if they dressed like that. Any of the outfits, y'all. I would not have walked out crying because I would have been like, do me a twirl real quick. All right, I'll go.
But yeah, we did this multiple times, and it would take between 5 and 10 minutes of mostly silence or
Of watching them emotionally process this movie and realize there was nothing about the story they liked.
And in fact, at the end of it, they're like, I hated that movie. That was the best part. They'd always ended up with, oh, God, I hated that
I was
movie.
like, Tom, why are you taking this away from people? They have so little. They
And
have
then you
so
watch-
little in this world.
And then you watch
I saw
Birds
it
of Prey.
twice.
Oh, I've seen it like about 10 times because Charlie's not wrong. Margot Robbie. Hell yeah.
Margot Robbie, man.
So
Yeah.
As well as Amanda Waller, whatever.
Waller,
It should
yeah.
be Amanda
Waller.
Waller.
Amanda
That
Waller.
it should be Amanda Baller, though. Look, she's a boss. I'm not saying that she's an ethical boss, but she's a boss bitch. I love her. Sorry for cursing. But yeah, look, the women in that. Yes, I would like. I don't necessarily want to eat with any of them, but I'm just saying I would like to watch them from afar.
And after having watched Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn,
I have not gotten to see it.
of what that movie could have been, and that's why I'm excited about James Gunn's reboot of the Suicide Squad, because that Harley Quinn movie is everything I wanted. It was the first time, and I don't know when, that I've gone to a Warner Brothers movie and not walked out of it going, why do people keep giving them money? Why did I give them money? Why
This is why I just watched the Warner Brothers
you?
DC Universe cartoons. The cartoon movies are good stories.
Yeah, they are. Except for when they decide that Batman and Batgirl need to be making out on the roof for absolutely no reason in a story that's about her sexual assault. But
that
Why?
never happened. That
Why?
never happened.
But I just mean but at least they get to tell their stories versus, oh my God, all I can figure is the live action DC movies are killed with notes.
Like they had the amazing Assault on Arkham, a Suicide Squad movie, animated, perfectly amazing. 30 seconds, introduce each character. Everybody gets the same amount of time as an intro, so anybody can die because nobody gets a 40-minute thing. So obviously they're not going to die. Well, you get 2 seconds, you're gone. Just 30 seconds, no holds bar, everything goes. There's a reason why the mission was for these specific people, and just and you don't just get not flustered, blown over by there's colors,
There's color. We brought color to your world. Aren't you appreciative?
And it is the trailer editing. Look, edits.
But see, these are for two different audiences, and this is the problem. The animated movies are for people that are already sold, right? Those of us who are watching the animated movies, those people who, like me, had a DC Unlimited account so that I could watch the new TV shows that were coming out and read the comics that I had been missing because I can't afford to buy comics anymore because comics are expensive and too many of them come out in a month, and I can't afford that, people. But those are who they're making those for. The other movies are made for a general audience. And this is a concept I want to die. I want to kill with fire. I want to burn at the stake, bring it back to life, and then kill it again a couple more times because it is just evil. When you're aiming...
There's an anime series for you.
Tom keeps trying to talk me into it. I just haven't had a chance to watch it.
These animated... I'll get to that in just 1 second. I just want to finish my rant. The problem with a general audience is when you're doing a genre story, the general audience probably won't care. Like, it's a miracle that the Marvel Cinematic Universe works to the level that it does, because those have maintained fairly core genre ideas and yet been able to reach out beyond just that fandom into a broader audience. I
Well, they
understand.
all have emotional story arcs.
Everybody
Unlike
wants-
the DC ones, they all have valid emotional story arcs. You care about the character.
when you're making a genre story, you have to realize that it's probably going to be the genre lovers who are going to show up for you, the fans, the people that are already there. When they're making an animated movie, they know John Q. Public is not going to buy their animated movie because, you know, adults don't watch cartoons. Only those weird geek adults watch cartoons. So they don't care as much. They're not standing over them and they're letting Bruce Timm do whatever the hell he wants over there. And I'm here for it. That's why we can get that Harley Quinn show that they made. And I'm really worried about the next season now that it's on HBO Max. And they're like, oh, this crossed over. Maybe general audience. No. Stop caring about that general audience. Remember, when they made Iron Man, it was a fluke. They made Iron Man because they didn't have the rights to any of the characters that they wanted to make. That's why they chose Iron Man, because they had sold off all their other rights. They made a movie that is a straight-up genre flick. That is a superhero movie from start to finish that hits all the same beats as the 1970s Superman movie. It's just a rock-solid, standard superhero film. And people went, yes, give me more. They went, wait, what? And had a bit of a panic. And you can see this panic with Iron Man 2. Well, maybe if we bring in a celebrity guest star that will hit some nostalgia buttons. And Iron Man 2 doesn't do as well as they wanted it to. And so they just went, oh, they just want the crazy stuff. How crazy can they do? Can we get James Gunn in here to write a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? I mean, seriously, nobody's going to go see it, but I just want to see if are they really going to go for that? And then they make it, and people go, yes, we need this, because James Gunn is a genius, and those movies are great. And they just went, whatever. Just do stuff. And that's how you get WandaVision. Because they just realized we can just make the stories we want to tell. And with very few, like, you can see where they were having problems with either a relationship with an actor or something that caused the story to diverge in some ways. They've been able to tell really interesting genre stories that are, for some reason, hitting the mainstream very hard. But that's a Ruby Dust thing. That's Harry Potter becoming popular. Most schoolboy wizard stories, nobody on Main Street's going to care about it. That was lightning in a bottle, right place, right time.
Although there is one thing that they do all have in common. They are all at the end of the day, some serious soap opera. That is what pulls people through a story that they want to then go see again, is they want that emotional pull, and they want to watch the characters become better and survive and care that character survived.
Yep.
And Harry Potter did that. The Marvel movies most of the time do that.
And they have the wonderful illusion of continuity.
Yeah.
And then you also have the animated Lego Batman movie that is so, like, it has Crazy Quilt, it has Conan McKing, it has all those villains that I knew growing up with Adam West show and stuff like that. And just seeing them on the big screen and having that nod, like, yes, we are fans too, was just so amazing. And I love it. I love it so much when you know that people that make the movies or the books or whatever are as big of a fan as you are. Like the beginning of Kung Fu Panda. Legend tells of a legendary warrior whose feats were the stuff of legend. Like, you know, they had a blast writing that movie.
That's the beginning of every wuxia movie ever.
Well, I mean, that's why, like, we actually have a folder, you know, where we just have all of their work together, Phil and Lord, because they all their stories are roughly the same, which is dealing with your father. That's what they're all about. Every single one of them. If Phil and Lord are involved,
There's a father drama.
At Bugs to Zephyr, Kennedy had 2 dads, so he had to deal with his fathers. So different. Perfectly different.
That was them branching out.
To 2 dads. Yeah, it's still father problems. Okay.
But that's what they're good at. Just as Jon Favreau writes a similar story every time of, the fish out of water from their usual experiences, trying to bring the world to their point of view instead of bending to the world's.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, as soon as you can realize that you're doing this, grab onto it. At some point in your career as a writer, you'll realize you basically tell the same story over and over again with different embellishments, because that's your story. It may not look similar to outsiders who don't know the intricacies and all the different things that are going on, but trust me, you will eventually notice, oh, that's the story I write. Lean in, because that's where your heart is. That's where your stories are going to really flourish and become powerful. That's how Jon Favreau can have the career that he had. He makes that movie, and you know what? I've been here for it. Whether it's Chef or Elf or what have you, I'm here. Give it to me.
Or Iron Man or Mandalorian. There's still the same gist. But he knows how to tell that story.
But see, that's
a compelling way.
That's the power of leaning into it, though, because once you realize that's the story that you tell, if it's a superhero story, if it's a story about a father and son reconnecting as he's doing a food truck pilgrimage across the United States. Chef was a weirder movie than I ever gave it credit for. Anyway.
I know, but I like food and anything, so it's like, I'll watch.
I just had to try to boil the plot down before to a pithy sentence. Like, wow, okay. But he realized that, and it allowed him to just hone his craft at making that and making it so good.
Oh my gosh, Cat.
I'm sorry, Cat's killing me over here. I'm so sorry. The laughter of women derails again. Okay.
I'm sorry,
okay, that's what I've been telling him, and I love it. I'm like, tell us again about what the world's really made of. Is it chocolate and cheese?
With a sprinkling of salt.
He's really got this great aesthetic, don't y'all think?
I loves it. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's the best we can do on a limited budget, but I live for it.
And on this note, Maggie, I agree. And if you actually pay attention to a lot of my stories, you will notice that the real villains are usually the humans. Cabal is probably my favorite book by Clive Barker that has yet to be turned into a good movie, even though they're rebooting it into a TV series that he's a part of. So maybe it'll be good this time. And that's kind of the message of that story. But I also have to say, I like a good horror story, and my life has included a lot of traumatic events from which I have PTSD. So I can't watch a lot of true crime type stories. So I lean in really hard on the monsters because I'm not afraid of them, but they can still scare me. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we need distance, and I will never ever say anything about anybody that wants a good monster, because just sometimes you got to set the wrong things right. And I just started quoting The Crow and didn't realize it until I said that.
I mean, it's very on brand for you, though, so it's good.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe you might need a little more eyeliner. I'm just throwing that in there. It's just I'm just bouncing some critique. Means, nothing if you are not interested.
I keep meaning to do it. Like, I've got it. Like, no, that's not it. That's that freaking ink pen again. See, I'm not even going to do this. Like, every time I'm like, I have the eyeliner right here, because it's sitting right there. But I always grab that paint pen.
Maybe it's like a sign of what you really want.
Just be like, I don't know. I just decided to sparkle for a week.
I mean, yeah, it would work.
Alrighty, we are about halfway through the show, and I think it might be a good idea to take a brief break for a minute, especially because I can't stop thinking about what goes on, like what mysteries Tom's trying to solve in the bunker over there. And this is also my fault because I've been getting caught up on mountain monsters recently, and
Tom, your beard.
I was just saying, yeah,
Your
the beard
lush mountain beard, darling. In the
beard,
lowland.
the beard isn't helping at this point, but actually getting caught up. I am caught up now. Yay. But I'm kind of lost because I'm like, are you going after the Waya woman? What's going on here? And like, I've got a whole headcanon thing going on. So what are we thinking? 10 or 15-minute break and then come back and do and finish this off?
Go for 10.
10.
All right.
I was thinking that too, actually.
All right. So
Tom, do this.
I'm gonna
There we go, honey. Just
I'm going to set a timer for a 10-minute break if I can get my phone to actually obey me. Obey, dang it. I'll hit you with a stick. Then you will just be broken.
I mean,
better.
okay, it just occurred to me we do have a half whiteboard, half corkboard that is currently not in use. And I'm like, I got some command hooks. Guess what we're going to do this week? Because we got to make Cat happy, right?
My entire
Besides, I need to
career-
block the window a bit anyway. There's too much light from it.
Too much light from the bunker, y'all.
Thank you so very much. I did need that. Alrighty, so I have 10 minutes on the clock. We will be back in 10 minutes. Take this time to write. If you haven't gotten up and moved around since the awkward sibling hour started, like me, maybe get up and move around.
You know,
It might be
is dinner
good
ready
feel.
yet, Maggie? How's it going? Did it come out well?
All right, we'll be back in 10 minutes. Beepity beep. Beepity beep. Oh, I think the timer scared the hubby because he just knocked something over in the kitchen, like right when the timer went off. And oh, so I meant to actually get some more work done on this calendar so I can start, I don't know, making timelines for the story. But there was a minor restaurant and what are we doing for dinner related thing.
Oh, we have that conversation too.
Oh no,
What?
I informed him. We agreed we're having lasagna. It's just who's making it and when. So you could either make it now or I'm making it when we get done with this. But it is going to happen. Darn it! You have invoked my inner Garfield.
We already have the New York strip in the sous vide. And with its special marinade of Dale's RC Cola and lots of garlic cloves. And Tom's gonna boil some shrimp and potatoes in shrimp oil. Hey, Jewel. And we have not figured out vegetable yet.
We actually have the Garfield restaurant in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
I have been following Strange Aeon's experiences with this. Because, oh my goodness, thank you so much for introducing me to that channel, by the way.
You're welcome.
I did not realize what I was missing in my life until it was no longer missing. All right. So we've talked about how spectacle messes a story up. We've talked about how it's overused and abused. But I would like to put forward, there are some times when I'm so sick and tired of people putting substance into my style that I just want it to go away and it needs to end now. And I'm specifically talking about two kinds of movies. One being my kaiju movies. Stop trying to make them meaningful. I'm here to see two giant things fight each other. Or one giant thing destroy a city. That's what I'm here for. Everybody knows that's why we're here. I don't care about your marriage. I don't care about why you broke up. I don't care about your children. Give me the giant freaking monster destroying the city. Please.
And then don't close the door on it. Oh my gosh.
Because look, there's a time to like make those stories meaningful. There's a wonderful collection of short stories called Kaiju Rising. I highly recommend if you're into this genre. Some of the stories will break your heart. Some of the stories are very touching. Other stories are just rock'em sock'em robots with giant monsters. And I'm here for all of it. But I am so nervous because Kong versus Godzilla is coming out. And I want this to be a pure spectacle movie. I don't care who has feels for the ape. I don't care who the ape has feels for. That ape needs to stop crushing on humans. It's wrong. You will destroy them. That is not how bodies work. Like, I don't care who you want to be your girlfriend. Or even if you're going to be progressive.
Killed the beast. Come on. It's poetic.
All I want from this movie is what the title says. It's kind of like how they messed up, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Look, you tell me that this movie is Batman v Superman. You know what I want to see? There's only one thing I want to see. It's like telling me, hey, you want to see Rocky fight a Russian? Yes. Yes, I want to see Rocky fight a Russian. I really don't care how his wife's doing. I don't care about any of this. I don't care about their children. Just show me Rocky fighting. Okay, fine. Give me a reason for Rocky to want to kill the Russian. That's nice. That's nice. Just show me Rocky fight the Russian. There's a certain, because I'm sorry, that's what a kaiju movie is. It's why Pacific Rim is the apotheosis of kaiju movies. It's really pretty looking. They put the time and energy in. It has enough of a story that if you need a story, it's there, but it doesn't get in the way of what I came to this theater to see. And that is giant robots fighting giant monsters constantly. Know your genre, people. Know your genre. Like
with a Martha.
Yes. Just don't put in a Martha. I don't need another Martha. It's like, no. Because look, I know when a Michael Bay movie comes out, what I'm getting into. I like fireworks specials. I enjoy watching fireworks. There are times when I just go on YouTube and search fireworks display and just watch fireworks. There are also times that I want my fireworks to have weird metal shrapnel in them that I can't be hurt by, and I watch a Michael Bay movie because that's what I'm here for. Don't put him in charge of any movie that you think is going to have a story or a substance or a plot. That's not what he does. He does really big budget fireworks movies. Same with Jerry Bruckheimer. Like, I know what I'm getting into when I see these names on there. Oh, it's a fireworks show with people in it. Okay.
And don't forget middle school young teenage boy humor.
Oh yeah.
There will be references to swinging balls.
Oh, at some point. Like, there almost has to be, right? But seriously, stop ruining a good thing. Like, Godzilla King of All Monsters could have been a perfect movie. But I don't care about your terrorists. I don't care about your broken marriage. I love Millie Bobby Brown. Don't get me wrong. I love her. I adore her. She's a great actress. She's going to be with us for a very long time. She's shown her range. She is phenomenal. I don't care. Let the monster step on her. I'm here for the monster, not for her.
It's true. You're absolutely right. I mean, I 1000% agree. Like, I'm here for the monster. I would like at a certain point, I'd like to see close-ups of the monster's skin. I want to see texture. I want to see how big it is. So please put it next to Billy so I can compare and contrast.
And keep the size consistent.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Trying to watch, I think it was Kong Skull Island. Just Kong is like, he's as big as a mountain when the helicopters first come in. And then all of a sudden he'll fit somewhere. And you're like, wait, what? No, my monster is huge. He will not fit there. He's
Mighty
huge.
Joe Young could take him on.
Ah.
Although it does actually bring up, though, the base explosion type movies and this, Snyder movies they are their own form of substance. Their substance is the spectacle.
Well, and
That's
Zack
what
Snyder,
their substance is.
and Zack Snyder is just trying to figure out how many ways he can retell Atlas Shrugged and not get called out for it, which unfortunately was all the way through Justice League. But we
Still
all
want to kick him in the balls.
We all know what you're doing now. Oh, look, Sucker Punch. It's Atlas Shrugged, but with women who like being raped because that's how they show their defiance. Zach. And I know I said I wasn't going to say anything bad about him after what happened to his family, but he's back at work at the non-existent Snyder Cut. So
I swear it was already made.
I'm still mad about Sucker Punch. Like, I literally have not recovered from when that movie came out on DVD and I saw it and I was like, oh, they've built me up to this. I'm still mad. I still want apologies. I want some kind of retribution. Amends must be made to me. I am owed.
because the worst thing about Sucker Punch is the soundtrack is really good.
The soundtrack is so good. The costumes are so amazing. The set design is to die for. Everything, it looks amazing. Everybody's gorgeous. Everybody moves. Or almost everybody moves really well. I love it all. And then you did what with my story, you bastard?
Because your audience know the story that you're trying to tell. Because, oh, but did you see that look she gave me while I was raping her? That's the real defiance. That's not how feminism works in any conservative versions of feminism. That's not even how that works. That's not how that works at all. Your whole story is, how is John Hamm going to rape these women? Oh, that's how. But she's defiant about it. Did you see the look she gave me? You were raping her. I have so many problems with.
There's an assumption there that is inherent and troubling. an assumption about the lack of defiance in other rapey situations that are less feminist. We've moved beyond the part where she's just grateful for the attention.
And I'm going to try not to go off on a whole Zack Snyder thing, mainly because both Curio and Maggie Mae Fish, especially Maggie Mae Fish, and her brilliant trilogy that I'm assuming will eventually be a quadrilogy, because I've seen some of the comments on the third one, and that's what caused the third one to come into being, was the comments on the second one. So I think that this is a series that she may be revisiting for the rest of time, but they have covered this really, really, really well, and I highly recommend, if you've never seen, especially the Maggie Mae Fish ones, they are a masterful thing, because she goes back and forth, starting with Dawn of the Dead, between James Gunn's original script and what actually showed up on film. And the differences are profound. Because I still haven't forgiven him for that movie. I know what he did, and I am not. So many movies, I'm just not. Just not. But, and can I say, yes. Okay, so Eva brings up.
Eva's killing me here too. Like, Kat and Eva, are you like conspiring to like break us? I love you both.
Okay, so I don't want to go on about the Star Trek thing, because I was fired by Paramount over all of that, because I didn't actually work for them, but I was in good enough with them that I was getting like early clips, and like I was on the list where I got like early access to a lot of things until they found out what I was saying about the things that they were sending me. It's kind of like when I really, really upset. Anyway, long-time viewers now. Anywho, yeah, lens flare, dude. Just
Lens flares in space.
okay. The fact that he goes so far as, because I'm one of those people that I watch the special features on like everything, because they're half the time my favorite part of the movie, because I love the behind the scenes. Like the behind the scenes to me, like even on movies that I absolutely love, half the time still the special edition features are the best part, finding out how they made it or why it was made.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I've watched all of them. Like a couple months ago, I found all the behind the scenes stuff that Peter Jackson made and put out like a year or 2 or 3 ago or something. I don't know, maybe it's 7 years. It was 7 years ago. And I just literally made a playlist and just watched all of them. And I fell asleep to them. And then I rewatched the ones I fell asleep watching. And it was wonderful.
Watching behind the scenes is what got me interested into going into the film industry in the first place. Like, I loved Cinderella, but my favorite part was fast forwarding through the end of the credits, and they would have a snippet on our VHS of them painting the backgrounds and hand animating like her dipping her toes in the water, and just all of the behind the scenes blew my mind. And then Lord of the Rings with Gollum blew my mind.
Yeah.
And all of these things, just everything clicked into place. It was awesome.
Everything's fine. Don't worry.
Yes. They're conspiring. Tom, probably. And I probably wouldn't have put that up if I wasn't so certain that it would be like right under him. Like I kind of just want to click that out and make that the thumbnail for this episode. They're conspiring. Tom, probably.
Yes.
But yeah, when J.J. Abrams had to literally say that, and the tone of his voice, I'm not sure it was a joke, that he was allowed one lens flare in The Force Awakens, or his wife would divorce him. Like he tells this story in one of the special effects, the special features that he had. She told him, "You get one, or I'm leaving you. If there's more than one in here, it's over."
Why is she such a hater?
first
And-
Star Trek, every single angle is a lens
Look,
flare.
I think it was like over 800 lens flares in the first movie.
I believe it.
Like somebody actually counted them. It was insane. It was like even I was like, no, it can't be more than 300. It was like 870. I don't remember. I looked it up once.
It's the part where he did all of them. They were all
They were
artisanal lens flares.
handcrafted, artisanal lens flares. And you know what? I appreciate an artist. Okay?
And it gave
I'm
us one
like,
of the-
lens flare me a movie, okay?
can I just say, it gave us one of the best
Painted out
moments.
lens flares.
It gave us one of the best moments in Lower Decks when they're in the holodeck and she
Yes.
turns on the movie and lens flares start
Yes,
happening
and
all
they
over
did
the
the lens
place.
flare. I'm yelling, Lord, like, they did the lens flare. They did the homage.
And Boiler's like, where are there lens flares all over the place? It's just like, it's a movie, duh.
Makes it great. You know, like, yes.
I feel so seen right now. Which is
Yes.
what Lower Decks was for. It was just, yes, we see you. We see the discourse. We know what you're all talking about. And that's the Riker maneuver, even all these years later. Like, why did he have to step over every chair that he sat down on? Why did that have to happen?
What was that? Who gave him that direction originally and thought, yes, that's the look?
So I have to say, as somebody who never liked Riker much, we're currently in the middle of our rewatch of Next Gen, and Lower Decks did something to the character in my head because of his portrayal on that show. He's now like my favorite character in TNG, which that was never the case. Like all these years, I'm just like, Riker, I could take or leave. They recuperated Riker so much with Lower Decks that like I think he's my favorite character on TNG now, just because of that.
Tom is the one who convinced me that I like Riker and that it's totally okay that he is the ship slut. Like, it's totally great. It's like, if anything, he's helping the whole ship. Like, like, because somebody's got to deal with, you know, the visiting dignitaries, right? Somebody's got to show them a good time. And
And Deanna Troy refuses.
So we just a little while ago watched the episode where they visit the planet where everybody's non-gendered.
oh, yeah, that's really cool.
And as a non-binary person who didn't really know much about those, I hadn't come to terms with those ideas last time I had seen that episode. It gave me all kinds of very different feels that I've recorded at least 6 videos about, that none of which say what I want to say because I just can't find the words. So be looking out on this channel. At some point, I may just make a playlist of all of them or do a weird supercut. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have tried to film this video. I've tried to write a script for this video because I have all kinds of feels about like.
I would be very curious to hear your thoughts and impressions about it, too, because I watched it. Tom got me to watch it like a couple months ago, watched like the best of TNG, and I found that I really liked it far more than I realized before.
Yeah, TNG is a great series. It's not the best Star Trek series, and I will, you know, personal preferences, but I kind of fight you over this. It's Deep Space Nine is the best one because Sisko's the best captain, and yeah, everybody else is wrong.
I mean,
But-
speaking of best captain, may I like submit Janeway as my favorite psycho to ever run a ship?
Janeway's amazing, but it's the twofer of Sisko is amazing. He's by far the best captain that has ever been on the series, on any series ever. But Avery Brooks is the greatest actor of all times. If you do not understand my love of him, there's a wonderful documentary called Captains that was made by the asshole in chief, Mr. Shatner himself, where he basically attacks each actor who played a captain after him. Like, he literally walks up to Kate Mulgrew and says, "So what is it like to be a failure as a mother so you could have a TV show?" Flat out to her. And yeah, like, he's just poking and prodding them. And Avery Brooks just decided to get really high and bring his piano. So Shatner's just throwing stuff at him. And he's just like, I think the only answer to that, man, is...
Oh, that is the best FU.
And William Shatner's just like, what? I don't understand that. He's like, what? You don't speak jazz, man? Like, how do you not speak jazz? Like, the answer is so clear. And he plays the riff again. And he's like, yeah, like everything you need to know right there. Avery Brooks, I love you for a lot of reasons. But this this is a special reason. But yeah, I would like to do an episode on Lower Decks because I don't think there's a way to spoil that show because it has plots. Like the only real spoiler in the entire show you find out on episode 1, and it's just a spoiler because the one character doesn't know, and that's who she really is in relationship to the other characters on the show. You find that out in like episode 1. So Boimler is the only one who doesn't know.
You
And
can't
so
send her to the Barrack. Was it Barrack? Not Barrack.
To the Briggs. The Brig.
The Brig.
Because she loves it.
she loves it.
It's her
So-
favorite place. Duh.
I would highly recommend if you haven't watched Lower Decks, start doing your homework. That's probably going to be a thing because I miss talking about Star Trek and not saying, and then it disappointed me when. And that's why we did this entire episode, because I wanted to do, like I normally do, a recap. Like, how did I feel about Star Trek Discovery Season 3? It was fine. It wasn't as exciting as Season 2. Season 2, I think, was legitimately an exciting season. Like, if you want an action-adventure Star Trek show, I think Season 2 was better at action-adventure.
I have a very simple way that I talked with Glory, and she eventually agreed, of how to tell if a Star Trek series is really a Star Trek series that is worthy of being Star Trek. And it's very simple. It's got one requirement. Is the actor who plays Tuvok showing up? Because he is such a Star Trek nerd.
Yeah.
Love me some
He will show
Tuvok.
up for anything, for any reason, at any price.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not allowing him around,
Yes.
it means you are not really trying to go with Star Trek. You're trying to make your own thing to make some money.
Agreed.
Because otherwise, he is like the David Tennant.
He's always available.
Yep.
Always available. He will make time. You don't have to pay him. He will just be there at all moments to be Tuvok. And I love that so much.
I did say that I would finally say what my opinion was towards the end of the episode. So if you don't want a spoiler that if you miraculously somehow missed it, because like I said, by 11 a.m. on the day that it came out, I opened my social media pages and there it was, like everywhere. So if you somehow avoided it this long and you still want to continue avoiding it, one big spoiler, but okay, here we go. Don't make a child responsible for the near destruction of the galaxy.
It's a
does
bad
not
look,
help
isn't
your
it?
story. That does not help your story. It doesn't make anything better. Yes, okay, so a child got upset because he watched his mother die in front of him and caused Starfleet to explode. That's what the plot of this season boiled down to in the end. And I don't feel like it's even worth calling that a spoiler because it's so stupid that just...
You have to start asking yourself, how are they going to retcon this? Tell me you're going to retcon this.
And now that they've made the Guardian of Forever a sentient being who can wander around, he's now the Doctor Who of Star Trek. Like, I don't think people have realized that. They literally made him the Doctor Who of Star Trek. He shows up as an old man with a cane who basically has a TARDIS door that can send people anywhere in time. They just created their own internal Doctor Who. But yeah, it's...
Wait, is the caretaker also the Guardian of Tomorrow?
Yeah, if you watch the very end of that, he does the voice. He actually they used the clip from the original show, and he says in one line, he's like, "I am the Guardian of Forever," and then they actually flash over a clip of the original series episode, And that's just them going, Harlan, you're dead.
Ruins! Ruins!
So, yeah, don't do that, maybe. Because I get the story that they were wanting to tell. And you can do that without having a child get upset. And he's not even like a special child. He's just a mutant. This isn't like a baby Q got angry, threw a temper tantrum, and blew up Starfleet. No, he's just a run-of-the-mill Kelpian, but his mother was pregnant when they went to this place, and the radiation mutated him into somebody who can literally speak through subspace to dilithium crystals. And he screamed so loudly, Starfleet blew up. That's it. I watched 13 episodes for this. And thus thought, why not just talk about other things? Because I don't have anything else to say to that other than, how did this happen? How did nobody... did
this child never cry before?
Or since? Because he gets scared one more time. Like, he gets just a little scared in one episode and almost does it again. And like, literally, he spent his entire life after that never getting scared or upset, apparently.
Or startled. Nobody ever
waking up from nightmares.
Right.
And the solution is, well, we'll just take him away from the planet and everything will be fine.
I don't even understand how that would work.
Like I said, I saw this and I thought the only valid way to talk about this episode was, let's talk about all the other times other people have done style over substance, because other than that, it's just going to be me screaming at the camera for 45 minutes. Like, I don't know how else to do this video. It's just like, you did what now? Like, you literally, like, I could understand, like, you're a dude in your basement. Like, I understand how I can come up with some stupid ideas for a story, right? I'm one person in my office, in the back room of my house, by myself, alone, going, you know what would be funny? Right? And I can come up with some crazy crap. You have a writer's room. You have directors. You have a whole bunch of actors that have to say these lines. And at no point in here, because it's not even set up to the point where they couldn't have changed it at the last minute when everybody got that last script, that it was like, oh, it was a crying baby that destroyed the universe. It's not even set up well enough that they would have had to have retconned anything that happened before. It's just, no, it's the kid, isn't it? It's the kid. The kid threw a temper tantrum and destroyed the universe. And that is the epitome of style over substance. It is the absolute distillation of it, because you have a series that is telling this amazing story about people learning to rely on each other when they have no reason to. Michael Burnham is a threat. She is a bad person who betrayed her captain and got most of her crewmates killed. This is how the series starts. And the entire plot arc up to this point, in over 3 seasons, is them learning to trust her. Like, she did a bad thing for what she thought was a good reason. And we're going to cap that storyline off, which is actually a really powerful storyline from beginning to finish, with, oh yeah, and by the way, a kid had a temper tantrum and blew up the universe.
So
I can already. Sorry.
I worked on a movie for Netflix, and by the time it gets to us, there's nothing we can do. We just do the effects. It's already been written, it's been shot. But I don't know what was up with their writer's room or what, but they couldn't decide on the ending. They're like, I don't know if it's just a volcano or an alien invasion. So we were on pins and needles for months while they try and make up their mind while we are doing these explosions and dust and lava flows and stuff. And it's like, is it an alien invasion or is it a volcano? They went with neither. They just ended the movie.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
I didn't even know that I worked on the last shot of the movie until my family watched the movie and they're like, what happened? I was like, Wait, that was the end? What? Oh my gosh. Ridiculous.
Yes, that is the story, isn't it? Because it's so frustrating because even with the introduction of weird space Cthulhu in Picard and them completely undoing the good ending to a bad movie in Nemesis with their entire season that didn't need to be done, that also contradicts like most of the canon for the series up to that point, but whatever. Picard was at least an understandable show. It at least made internal sense.
Yes.
This just, and I'm just at a point where
here's where headcanon. Here's where you what's the word? Retreat back into headcanon because the published story ending is too awful.
And all, yeah.
In my headcanon, the Q did it because Starfleet got too dangerous to the Q. And so as per all rules though with the Q, they had to give the power to someone else, or else that Q would be held responsible.
Ooh, I like where you're going, Tom. This is I can work with this. Hello, Q.
And plus it brings John Delancey back.
Well, he's supposed to show up next season on Picard.
I love John Delancey. He's a wonderful
so much.
He's a boat. He just needs money for his boat. Oh no, sailing.
That's it. That's
If
all
you
you'd
ever-
have to change.
Yep.
It's just that they became a threat to the Q, but the Q have rules about no individual Q is allowed to destroy a society anymore. So they just gave that power to an unborn child and just let nature take its course.
Which is no different than the series finale for Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Where they caused a little thing that would have brought about the erasure of the entire galaxy. Yeah. And it works within the story. Anywho, yeah, this is how I do therapy. Let's talk about something completely different so I can get off my chest the things that I'm mad about in the one thing in particular. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week just because, like I said, I kind of want to do a happy episode. We've had a lot of ranty things. I think last week was a very happy episode where we talked about fan fiction, and then we got kind of sidetracked into everything wrong with the American educational system for a little bit, and then we pulled ourselves back out. But
go have fun watching that anime series I posted. Cautious Hero.
I want to find a topic that we can just unapologetically have a happy time talking about. So maybe Lower Decks. Because we haven't done an episode about it on the podcast, and I think that I could talk about it forever because I love it. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everybody who watched. Like I said, I can't believe how many people watched last week's podcast episode when it came out. You all astound me. Hello, if you're still here, welcome aboard. Would anybody like to outro before we go?
My name's Laura Nettles. I have a YouTube channel where I write stuff, and subscribe because these are awesome.
And she's got a live stream in a few minutes.
Yes.
Hi, I have a channel called Glory Writes the Blues. My name is Glory. I have a regular live stream with this one with my brother Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And we have our new show season is coming up. We're going to talk about autism and autism related issues, and then anything else we feel like. It's called Awkward Sibling Hour for a reason.
And Tom is trying to figure out exactly how we can fix everything with the murder board that will soon be appearing behind him. He's almost doing an outro, so I thought I would do one for you.
Thank you.
If you would do one for you.
And I'm Tom with A Think Fix. Work on story development. That's what I work on and do, but for the most part. Do it with Glory. I'll probably start doing it on my channel. But that is what I enjoy doing. Is there's 101 options of how to take a story.
Oh, and I'm sorry.
And the direction often provides the whether we'll enjoy it or not. So let's go over obvious problems.
So thank you all so very, very much for being here. It really does warm my heart. I would say I have the first actual video of the year going up on my main channel, my AuthorTube channel, tomorrow. I had fun making the thumbnail for it, and I'm sorry. I just want to say that ahead of time. I had a lot of fun making it. I'm sorry, but this is a year I'm trying to have fun again. So enjoy that. I am currently working on my world building and my outlines for my Crypts and Wyverns setting, which I am utterly obsessed with. Hopefully you will come along for the ride with that on Wednesday as we go along and do more of this. Hopefully I will be getting these written. I'm planning on writing, getting back up to speed and doing a novella a week so I can get all 12 written with very, very quickly and get this story done and out into the world, because I am so much in love with it, and I hope you will be too. As I end everything, and have recently added to my list, let us not forget democracy matters, Black Lives Matter, Black trans lives matter, and trans identities are magical. And until next time, may you have the courage to ride your dreams into reality, and don't forget to have the fun. Bye.